Welcome to the new season of the Live Your Spa Life show. The Spa in Spa Life stands for Seek Power Always, that divine power within you to do what you're here to do. The theme for this season is Freedom Fighter. Amazing people like you share ways to ensure your freedom physically, financially, spiritually, and in your relationships to create a world-class life. In these times of uncertainty, it's time for you to move past the distractions and start trusting yourself more through your God-given knowingness. No one truly knows better what's best for you than you. In this season, you'll have plenty of examples of people choosing their best life and giving a voice of freedom to those who are also looking to have their best life. Thank you for sharing your precious time with us and being part of the Live Your Spa Life conversation. With us today is Stephen Kuhn. He is a consultant, author, speaker who has been handpicked to consult with some of the most influential people in the world, from rock stars, singers, and actors to business leaders and politicians, about how to expand their brand, build value and loyalty, and develop strategies for increasing beneficial relationships and achieving true quality of life. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
It's so good to have you. And I just want to start off first with just thanking you for your service. For people who don't know, you're here from the good old USA in Pennsylvania and served in the U.S. Army from 86 to 93 in Germany, and also did a tour as a sergeant in the Iraq during the Operation Desert Storm. And so I wanted to ask you, how did military life contribute to your understanding of the world?
I think, of course, when you go into the military, at least in my years in the 80s, 1980s, just giving my age away here, in the 1980s, there was still that glory behind it, right? So it was almost like we were conditioned from childhood to look at war as a good thing, to look at intervention as a good thing. So it was almost like a world that was built upon a house of cards, I guess I could say.
Right. Well, and that was also the first war that we actually watched it on TV.
Yeah, right. And so everyone saw what was happening. And although we did go there and we did do what we had to do, it was still horrible. And there were still things that happened there that I didn't want to see or didn't have to see or shouldn't have seen or do. Right. And that, of course, until that point, until the war, I was, patriot. I loved it, country, and America, red, white, and blue, apple pie, and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then during the war, when it all happened, and with the civilian interaction that I had over there, and then the results of our war that I saw, that changed everything for me. And I realized that I didn't want to be a soldier anymore at that point. And the world looked completely different to me all of a sudden. I saw what we were actually doing. I'm not a pacifist. I'm not anti-American, believe me. I'm still a patriot. I love America, and I would never change anything that I did. But I do see that the need for a collective conscious movement, I guess you could say, or ecosystem that focuses on the good and the positive, and spreading that even at the micro level is more of where I find myself these days, as opposed to the generalist out there, America's great, hoorah kind of thing. And I'm living in Europe now since I got out of the military in 1993. I've been living in Europe. I'm in my 7th country in Hungary. And I've gathered quite a lot of impressions over the years. I've worked in politics and, like you said, rock stars and all kinds of stuff. And in all these different countries, one thing was the great unifier. In every country I've ever worked in, I've been in Egypt and Morocco and Hong Kong, and there's one unifier that I've found, and that's quality of life. Everyone seeks it. The conscious brain is always seeking joy, seeking quality of life, seeking betterment of life. And when we can find that unifier, find a way to use that unifier as a source of cohesion, then I think we're in a much better place. And I know it sounds sort of holistic. I'm very spiritual, but I'm also a hardcore business guy, and we're killing it right now. Just so you know, there's a bridge between the two, and it's possible. Right. And it's possible, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think one of the things that we're seeing right now in the world is there is there's the agenda and the things that are being said by mainstream media that is dividing people, that is making people fearful. People don't have all the facts. And, as someone behind the scenes, and you see kind of the whole theater, if you will. And, I remember seeing this when I was on the police department. Like, you see things that the average person doesn't see, and they don't have the full perspective to be able to make really informed decisions on things. And so when you look at that, at what's happening, what do you think is because I know you've also done some, consulting for politicians.
A lot.
And, we always talk about, just how politicians don't always say the whole truth, right? And their agenda a lot of times is to be elected. What do you think needs to shift with, just the political arena in general? And what are they not seeing as part of that path?
Well, first of all, the entire political arena in just about every country in the world that I know of, and I know most of them because I know someone in politics in almost every country, at least Western Europe, America, a little bit of the Middle East. They're not, elections are all bullshit now these days. Excuse my French.
Right.
Even in America, I know personally, as I was hand selected to be a senator back in 2012, and the election wasn't even a question. It wasn't like, I was like, well, don't I have to be elected? Like, we'll take care of it. And that's something I've never said in public. I'll probably get shot for that. But I think it's rotten to the core. It's controlled by major interests with a lot of money. Most of the politicians at the higher level are, they've been there 30, 40, 50 years. Ridiculous. Obviously, they don't have the people's best interest at heart. That's damn sure. Insider trading, all kinds of stuff going on. It's all self-profit. And unfortunately, and this is my opinion, is that over the last 40 years, 50 years, and especially in America and over the last 25 years in Europe, is there was a massive push and increase on personal debt, right? So easy money, credit cards, like super simple. When I first got to Germany in 1993, you couldn't get a loan to save your life. Credit card? What? No way. You got to make 50,000 a year to even get a credit card.
Right.
And now you get them sent to the mail without even asking for it, right? Same thing with loans. You can apply online, and in 10 minutes you have money in your account. And what happens, and this is just my theory, this is what I've seen, is that everyone's so in debt now, in America especially. What was it, 80% of Americans couldn't save $400 for an emergency, right? Mm-hmm. And we're so in debt right now that they have to comply with what's going on. They don't have the power to go out and do anything because they have to keep their jobs to support their family, to be able to eat. I talk to police officers. I'm like, why are you enforcing these ridiculous rules? He's like, dude, I have a pension, man. I got 3 more years. I'm going to retire. And I say, is $40,000 a year worth, flipping your fellow citizen? He's like, dude, I have a family. I got to take care of my kids. And that's the issue. It's not necessarily politicians. They've turned us into ukes, basically, like mutes almost, because be quiet. I might lose my job or that kind of stuff. And that's all programmed, of course. And so now we're sort of stuck in a place where, most people won't do anything because they just want to stay under the radar so they could feed their family. Totally understandable, but it's an specifically engineered position for that, in my opinion.
Right. Well, I had a recent guest that talked about COVID as being, one of the agendas was to further in-debt people, because as you said, the more in-debt people are, the more they feel that their hands are tied. And, this has become more of the most complacent times, right? Where people feel like, well, I have to do something, or this is what, we can't shift or change things, or you get so comfortable with the way of being is that you don't want to step out of that comfort zone and do something different. Part of what we're talking about here is, how do you fight for freedom, and what does freedom actually mean to you, and what does that actually look like, right? And so for me, it's being at choice. Like, I want to be able to have the choices. And, even Martin Luther King had talked about, in order to have freedom, it must be demanded by the oppressed. And people aren't necessarily demanding for that. So what do you see as a step for people to start reclaiming their freedom? Like, what do you think they can do differently? And how do you see freedom?
But we just had this exact discussion literally 20 minutes ago with a client. This exact freedom. What does it mean? Why? And how, and basically what we came up with is, what does freedom mean to you? Right? Exactly. And I mean tangibly. Freedom to me means I can leave any country I want and move to any country I want, or whatever. Right? And if you think of freedom in the context of the COVID lockdowns, what does that mean? Because that means something different, right, than just general freedom. So how do you get
Right.
specific with what it is that you see as freedom and what it is that you really want? What does freedom mean to you? And, he was talking about, well, I want to be able to leave the country if it's locked down to go to a country that isn't locked down, which is a specific country I won't mention, but it's a specific country in South America. And I said, well, how's that going to work? Reverse engineer it, right? So reverse engineer it. What do you need to do when you're there? How do you get there? What, how long is it going to be? Are you going to be allowed to go there? Can you even leave your country if you don't have a permit there or a passport? No, you can't. So you need to, it's like working on all of these things to really get down to the core of what it is that actually freedom means to you in a specific situation, so that you have a plan or at least the certainty. And we talk about in our book, Unleash Your Humble Alpha, we talk about certainty is what drives everything. People buy from me or from you because we're certain. People listen to us because we're certain in our word. People take advice from us because we're certain in that what we're giving is going to be deployed and be successful. Certainty is what it's all about. Certainty in your life and about your ability to deploy your talents to handle any situation, no matter what it is, including this one right now. And people forget about it. They think the outside is what dictates everything. I promise you, it doesn't. I flew on vacation to Peru in the middle of COVID. I went to Italy in the middle of COVID. People are like, how did you do that? I said, I just did it. I was certain. I did it. I did everything you had to do. And then when they tried to stop me, I was just like, okay, thank you. And just keep walking. It's like, I just do it. I was in Austria the other day at the airport. I wasn't wearing a mask, just walking around. And thousands of people wearing a mask. I was the only one. And no one even gave me a second look except for two cops. And they just watched me walk by and didn't say a word. Why?
Right.
Because I'm carrying that certainty. I'm owning my presence. That's the subtitle of the book, Own Your Presence in Life.
Right.
And so, people need to take their power back and quit giving it to the government, quit giving it to the municipalities, quit giving it to the police, quit giving it. And I don't mean fight. I don't mean fight because you're going to lose. Right? I mean, it's about you. It isn't about aggression to the outside. It isn't about destroying a system. It's when everyone takes their power back, they have zero influence on you. Zero. Mm-hmm. And it's so if you deduct it down to, okay, I don't have to fight. I don't have to lash out. I don't have to go on podcasts and talk about this stuff or whatever, right? I just need to bring my power back to me and know that what's inside of me and that the power they have inside of me is mine to own. Mm-hmm. Right? And when you do that, the outside really doesn't bother you that much.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You and I have definitely talked about this, quite a bit, in that, a lot of the fear comes from external things, like people not even taking a moment. And, this is part of what I want, our listeners to really think about is, what does freedom mean to you and how do you want to live your life? And I think part of what happens is that people make these little, concessions with themselves, like when we're going to things are going to be locked down for just 2 weeks and everything will be fine, right? And then the line keeps moving and things keep shifting and people keep making concessions thinking, it's going to get better. Well, it's only going to get better when you make it better, when you decide how you're going to live your life and what's important to you and what that actually looks like. And that, like you said, so much of this is a house of cards where one person doesn't even know what the other person is. Like they'll say there's certain restrictions or mandates or all of these. None of these things are law, right? There's nothing to enforce, right? There's nothing for them to do other than you standing up for yourself. And like you said, there's peaceful ways to do that. And when you're just living your life and you're just doing what you're doing, it makes so much importance. I'd love for you to talk more about owning your presence.
Okay, well, let's talk about feeding the pendulum. Right. So, it's an energy pendulum. So basically the negativity that's being exuded from the powers to be, when we engage in that, we're feeding that power and it's sucking us in. So we will lose or become a part of that pendulum. And that's why you can't, it's like Aikido, right? So Aikido is you take the attacker by their energy and you go with them a little bit and then you let them go and they fly against the wall from their own energy. You exerted zero energy. You just led them in a direction. And it's the same thing you do with what's going on now with aggression, with people yelling at you, with the left, the right, the front, the center, everybody saying you're this, you're that, they're other, just right? Think of it like that, visualize it. And you'll see that, wow, this stuff doesn't even bother me. Like whatever, let people fight what they're doing. We have a core of people that we know that are, the humble alphas is what we call them. We have a humble alpha paradigm upgrade advisory program. Like I said, we were talking with a client about that. And that's about identity, purpose, and certainty. Who are you really? Not what do you do? If you ask somebody, hey, who are you? And they go, I'm the CEO, or I'm the, no, that's what you do. Who are you? Well, I'm a
Mhm.
father. No, no, that's what you do too. I'm a mother. No, but you do that too. Who are you? Most people don't know. So that's where we
Mhm.
start in the book, right? And once you realize who you are, you have an identity statement. Each chapter, there's five sections, and each section has a story, a lesson from that story, and action steps. So we talk about the identity, a story, then we talk about, the lesson from that story, and then we say, this is how you're going to get your identity statement. And it
Yeah.
takes a while. And then, so that's the identity first. Once you realize your identity, your purpose almost crystallizes in front of you. And you're like,
Mhm.
wow, yeah, like, oof, I get it. For instance, we have identity statement, and then we have a 2-word moniker that describes your superpower. And mine is a powerful connector. That's what mine came out to be. It changes over the
Mhm.
years a little bit, but now it's powerful connector. And that means when I connect people, I inject power into that relationship, ensuring both sides win. Not only, but I follow up and say, hey, how's it going? And I'm always piling on top and trying to get as many wins as possible for them. And
Mhm.
once I realized that, I'm so much more powerful in what I do, and I can focus on the things that I know that I can do best. And so that's why the identity is important. That purpose is wrapped up in that identity. And
Right.
once you have your identity and your purpose aligned, your purpose amplifies your identity, and that's your presence.
Mhm.
And because it's your identity that you own, that you discovered, and that you've worked out, you own that presence. You own that
Right.
presence. So when you walk into a room, you've had it. Walk into a room, you're standing like this, the door behind you, someone walks in, you're like, wow, who just came in? That's someone who owns
Right.
their presence. That's someone who owns their presence. And that's what
Mhm.
we teach in our Paradigm Upgrade Advisory Program. That's what we have in the book, Unleash Rumbo Alpha. And it's a very, very powerful method that we even work with, like the mayor of New York's special assistant, chief of staff or whatever she is, special assistant, I think, on how to do this. So when she's doing fundraising and all these kind of things. We
Right.
work with multi 30-40 million dollar revenue range entrepreneurs. We work with a group of
Mhm.
real estate directors, real estate developers in the UK, all about what we're talking about right here: owning your
Right.
presence in life and becoming the epic leader that you're meant to be. Because everyone is a leader when you embrace your identity, you find your purpose, and you have that certainty. Because once you're
Right.
certain about who you are, and everyone says you can't be certain about the world. I'm not worried about the world. I'm worried about me. I know right here, and I can tell you, no matter what happens, if the police bust in the door right now with machine guns or whatever, I know I can deal with it. That's the
Right.
certainty I'm talking about. Right?
Mhm.
I know that I can walk through wherever I walk through, and I'll be fine because I'm certain about that. And once you own the certainty, you can let go of the how. And that's the most
Mhm.
important part. I can let go of how anything's going to happen because I set the intention of what it is that I want. I'll set the goal, build it out, reverse engineer it, and then the how doesn't even matter because I'm certain I'm going to get there. So there we go, right? And that's
Right.
part of that presence as well. And people are like, how can you just sort of let things go? Well, you have to let them go. If I'm holding on to something and I'm looking at it like this, what's happening out here? Coincidence, luck, new doors, impressions, people that I meet, all this. I won't see them. I won't see them.
Mhm.
Right. So we have to have a micro focus on our intention, but a macro focus on the world around us. So we see these coincidences and lucks and doors and all these kind of things because every person you meet is a door to a whole new reality.
Right.
And
Right.
so be excited when you see people that you don't know. Be excited when you get a
Mhm.
chance to talk to somebody on Zoom. I talk to 3 new people every single day.
Mhm.
And it's just
Yeah.
my network is ridiculous because of that. And I inject into them. Right.
Right. Yeah, I think this is so important for people to just take a moment to find out, like, who they are, right?
Yeah.
And when you get really clear on that, and like you said about the certainty, and we talk about here about owning your power, and that you are that power, right?
Yep.
That isn't happening outside of you, that it's something within you and who you walk in with.
Yep.
I was just thinking some of the identifiers that I did is or that I called for myself as being a peaceful warrior, and I am the light, like, and just being that light in the world and showing up as that, right? And when you anchor those things of who you are, then it doesn't matter what you do, because it just evolves for you, it shows up for you, and then it starts aligning with the purpose of what that is. And there's a lot of buzz around this book. In fact, they're wanting to utilize it in different institutions as kind of a manual for that. What do you think is about right now in this time that people are really looking at a different concept, and explain a little bit more about just being a humble alpha?
Yeah, sure. So, um, It's already been picked up by Forbes School of Business and Technology as part of their curriculum. It's a 2 credit hour course, and there's 2 other. Uh, I can't say who it is yet, but it's incredible that they even would do this. But it's 2 Ivy League schools that are just the top ones in the country that have now decided to pick it up as well for their curriculum. And why is that? It's because we're teaching leadership from a whole new angle. It's not self-development, right? It's not personal development. It's not outside structured, follow, Tony Robbins, John Maxwell, or whoever, right? It's you follow your own identity and your purpose, and you make your way. No one's telling you what to do. We tell you how to unleash your own power, how to unleash your humble alpha. Humble on the outside, alpha on the inside. A humble alpha doesn't need to say anything when they walk into a room. A humble alpha doesn't need to defend anything that they do because they live by what we call HIT: honesty, integrity, and transparency. Honesty with yourself while you do say and act like you do. Transparency is how you step into the world with that honesty, and that's your ongoing reputation. And the byproduct is integrity. And when you're honest with yourself, you don't have to worry about anything on the outside. You don't have to make anything up. You don't have to remember anything. You just are who you are. And then when you live that life on those core set of principles and you do things like creating space is showing up wholly and fully for the person in front of you with no preconceived notions or cookie cutter solutions, focusing on the only thing that you control, and that's the intention. You don't control the outcome. So forget the outcome. And when you do that, you create a space around the people you're talking to on the stage, even us right now, where we're co-creating a result that either one of us alone could never create. And so it's a whole process that we go through. Then we go into the book, into the organization. How can I do that in my organization, whether it's a soccer team or a football team from Europe, football team, or, if it's a company, a corporation, entrepreneurship. How do I implement this same power in every single one of my employees, my students, or whoever it is, so that everyone is aligned with who they are? And because they're aligned with who they are, you can take their purpose and align it with each other in the proper areas. And then we're starting to work with Amelia Antonetti from Genius Key, who's a behavioral specialist, and she has a test that you take, and then what your zones of genius are, and you can really work only in those tasks. So you're never bored, you never let out, and you're always at your full power. So it's incredible, and this is a need right now. This is a need. People have been looking on the outside for way too long, and we've diminished our power. We've given our power away. We've allowed others to sap our energy and our power and our love out of us. Not anymore. It's time to take it back. And I don't mean revolutionary, like, whatever. I'm talking for you to have that one thing that everybody seeks. That's quality of life, whatever that means to you. Quality of life simply means enjoying every moment, no matter what the task. Right.
And then that starts with flipping the switch of intention within yourself. Right?
Yep. Intention is the most important thing. Intention is the most important thing after certainty. Once you're certain, it's all about intention. It isn't about the outcome or, preconceived notions, or I want this or I want that. I mean, it cracks me up. I have this huge company. The CEO wants to be introduced to a few people who can fix his problem, but they want some equity. He goes in, they say, I want this. He's like, no, there's no way I could do that. And I was like, look, man, this is not about you guys making a deal. This is about me introducing you to a door to an opportunity. And that door could be them. It could be their contact, or the contact of one of their contacts of one of their contacts. Never go in with a preconceived notion. Okay, I'm talking to this guy now to get money, and if he doesn't give it to me, then I'll go away. No, you have to build that. I don't mean network. Build a co-create. Put it that way. Co-create an organization of like-minded, like-energied people. Period. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about. And so forget about the intention. Forget about the outcome or what you want. Who cares what you want, right? It's about co-creating something that's good for both, or everyone, or whoever's involved. And when you think like this, you're suddenly coming up with ideas. I mean, this book came up like that. The name Humble Alpha came up like that. We have the HAV movement, Humble Alpha Veteran Empowerment, for the veteran space. We're launching an NFT program, millions of dollars. We have an investment fund it's going to be up to $20 million. That was all just intention. We had no idea how it was going to happen, but we were certain it was going to happen, and boom, it's happening.
Right.
And so we teach that. We teach that every day.
Yeah, it's so great to have that. And, with that, and because you're connected with so many different people, there is, like you said, between the NFT and the nonprofit and working with the vets and the book, there's so much going on in your space. Hey, how can people look at what's considered a distraction versus a good idea to run with?
I think if it's aligned with your purpose, for instance, everything we do is based on veterans, except for this, but we've integrated that humble alpha veteran empowerment. It's called have it
Mm-hmm.
all, humble alpha veteran empowerment. And we've integrated it all into that one thing. And Lane and myself, now remember, you can do a lot of stuff, but you don't have to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So we bring people on they must read the book when we bring people on, when we work with people, whether it's collaboration, hire, or whatever, they must read and understand and implement the book, because we're creating this platform of people that are aligned. And then they are working in a zone of genius that we don't have or don't want to do. I don't do finances. I don't do administration. I don't do social media but my own, right? I don't do any of the small stuff. I don't do websites, none of that stuff. We have people that do that, and they all have either equity or getting paid for it or profit share. And
Right.
so we work by the law of the architect. When you build a house or a building, the architect says this pole goes here, this pile goes here, this wall goes here. This is how the house is held up. Same thing in
Mm-hmm.
business. Everyone can't do the same thing. They have to do different things to support that business. So Lane, my business partner and co-author, he does what he does and I do what I do, and we don't check on each other because
Mm-hmm.
our mission is aligned, our vision is aligned according to both of our purposes. And he's fulfilling his purpose, I'm fulfilling my purpose, but in the same company with the same outcome. And so it's pretty powerful that when you realize that it's all within me. Let go of all the BS that you're supposed to be doing. Let go of all the BS that everybody tells you how to be, what to do, when to do it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do what you know is right according to your core principles and your values.
Yeah, so great. One of the things I like to, kind of explore is, creating sacred space. And that, in our home, we have different experiences in our bedroom versus our office or our kitchen. What's your favorite room in your home and why?
Well, I recently moved into an apartment, but my my favorite room was I had a little office, not a little, but an office for myself where I have a mix of my military past and my spiritual world. Well, you see a pyramid right here, for instance,
Hmm.
and over there I have my crystals and things like that. I lived in a monastery with monks back in 2008, Benedictine monks, and then I've been going to Peru and working with ayahuasca. I've been working with ayahuasca for 16 years. Ayahuasca, San Pedro, Combo, Bufo, and Iboga is what I've worked with so far, and that was all sort of in my space, and we call it the focus cave. Like if I want to go into a focus cave, um, that's where I'm 100% in what I'm doing, right?
Hmm.
And now I put in Brain FM, which is an app that has isochronic tones. We know the owner, and then I use the Apollo Neuro. It's a vibrational device you wear on your wrist or on your ankle, and you can
Hmm.
program what you want. You want focus, you want to meditate, whatever it is. Put the Brain FM in, put the Apollo Neuro on there, focus on what you're doing, and you literally do 4 or 5 hours of work in about 2 hours.
Nice,
Right. So
nice.
that's
Wow.
focus cave. It's not only the ambiance in the beautiful room, but it's what you do there in order to facilitate that focus, that cave, that well-being. I do the same thing with meditation,
Hmm.
vibration, earphones, boom, right?
Right.
And
So good.
best is with no window, but I had a window, but so you're
Right.
not looking out, see what's going on, right?
So one of your areas of genius is relationships,
Yeah.
and you talk about how one of the things that makes people successful is the quality of their relationships. And I mean, you have a massive international Rolodex of people that you've connected with over the years. What do you think people? Where do they miss the mark on creating quality relationships?
Easy. They're looking, what's in it for me?
Mhm.
What's in it for me? Oh, that person can help me. And you know how it is. Like, oh my God, that's the CEO of so and so. I got to go talk to him. Why? Why? What are you going to offer
Right.
him? Nothing. You're not going to offer
Mhm.
anything. You give him your business card and say, please call me, please buy my stuff. No, right? It's like I said before. You have an interaction with somebody. There's a reason that they're in your life. To see it that way. You don't have to know what that reason is, or what that reason is.
Mhm.
Just make it happen. Go up there and just see what you got. I always say, do your PPR, problem product resolution. If they ask you, hey, what do? You say, here's the problem I solve. This is the product that solves it. And this is what it looks like afterwards. It takes 10 seconds. You're done. Ask questions back to them. Make sure it's about them and not about you. I had a guy ask me
Mhm.
one time, hey, we're going to this 3-day event. You think 1,000 business cards are enough? I'm like, I don't know. You know, calculate it. You have to talk to someone every minute for 8 hours a day for 3 days, and you're still not at 1,000. So what do you think?
Mhm.
How many of those would be
Right.
quality relationships? And then, of
Right.
course, it's how you do that too. So the first thing I always do when I meet somebody is I add value. while we're talking. Matter of fact, it happened with us, right? With your
Mm-hmm.
husband. Right away, we're like, just, okay, sign, pop up. While we're talking, we're adding value. We're connecting. We're introducing. We're at, it's for me as a powerful connector. That's what I do. I'm going to load you up with benefits of my network. And you're going to be like, wow, man, Steven's awesome. And then you're going to have somewhere, law of reciprocity may come from you or somewhere else. I'm going to get that back. That's the only investment that I know. We call it investing in relational capital. We know that we're going to get a return on that, right? Wherever it comes from. So the biggest mark is, don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about what you're going to get out of it. Just go up there and just make them feel great. Leave them in a better place than when you met them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and be truthful. Don't say, oh, I love your glasses if you don't love the glasses. And don't say, like, I love your hair if you don't love your hair. It's just, you just don't.
Right. Right. Come from a sincere connection. Like, what is it that, because we all know that there are things that draw us to people, right? And as you're talking to them, that gets unfolded as far as, why that is or what that looks like. But if you go with that, especially if you're coming from that place of where you know who you are, you're coming with that certainty and you're showing up in this place, it's going to reveal itself why you connected and what happened. And it may not happen right away other than, hey, I'm here to connect with you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it is. And it's like, again, don't worry about the outcome. Just let it go. And that goes for a lot of things in life, like almost everything. It's the process you use. It's like, we always say, letting go. If you haven't read the book, David R. Hawkins, Letting Go, incredible book. And that goes through all this whole process, letting go, and how you heal yourself basically by letting go of the thoughts that you have about being sick. It's things like that. It gets into the depth of it all, but it's simple. It's very simple. Like, let's just take a picture. I walk into a ballroom and there's 150 people there. Yeah. Most people go and they look for someone they know, and then they go to the bar and they sit there and talk. They look around. Hey, do you know that guy? Do you know that guy? I don't. I look at the room and I navigate. I go in. How you doing? Hey, nice to meet you. Nice to Stephen Kuhn. I'll be back. Or, hey, good to see you, or whatever. And, oh, love the tie, or whatever. It's something that sticks out for real. I'll go around the whole room and people are like, does this guy, is he the organizer? Who is this guy? And then I'll go back to a group and talk a little bit. Then I'll find out. And then I'll go to another group and you should meet the guy I just met over there. And I'll start connecting them. And I'm there to work the room, but in a way that's easy for me.
Right.
I'm not pushing.
You're more like the meet and greet guy, right? You kind of get an overall impression of who's there, what's it about, and then be like, oh, now it's the matchup game. Like, this person should meet with this person, and this person should go with that person.
Right.
And seeing the totality of it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Right. It is. And it's. I'm sorry, my wife's writing me. So it again. There's no outcome in mind. Like, I don't go to events very often, but when I do go to events, we had our own event in Houston last month, and I was a keynote speaker at an event in Kentucky also last month, and 500 people or whatever. Someone who's interesting. Oh, you look interesting. What do you do? Like, I'm truly interested. Like, I want to know who you are. If you're not interested in me, I probably won't walk up to you. And people start walking up to you. Right. And after a while, like I used to work with guys in Germany. Germans are quite stiff, and they would like how to navigate a room. And I would say, watch this. So I would go into like a corner of a room somewhere by myself and just stand there, not with a phone or whatever, just stand there owning my presence. And within 5 minutes, someone's going to walk up to me and start talking to me. And they're like, wow, how do you do that? Because most people stand in the corner like this. No one's going to walk up to you like that.
Right.
Just to show how it is to own your presence and navigate the room with ease.
Right. Well, and that's what's happening with anywhere from mass to electronics to all of these distractions, right? It doesn't allow you to stand in your presence for people to approach you. Everyone's in this like own little like secluded bubble that doesn't have the energy for people to want to connect with you. So just being mindful of that. I mean, just having someone smile. I mean, I can't remember because I never wear a mask. I'm like you. I walk in, I do what I'm here to do. That's not part of my protocol. And people will say more often than not, like, oh, I like your smile, because they're not used to seeing smiles, right? So it seems unique, right? It seems like there's something that's out there. So just being you and showing up is a great way to stand for your freedom and, really be the presence you are, who you want to be here in the world. And, Stephen, I know you and I can talk all day, and I know that our listeners are going to want to connect with you and what you're up to and check out your book. How can they do that?
Humblealpha.com. Real simple. HumbleAlpha.com, we have a free book excerpt. We even actually have a free plus shipping book offer. You can take the course, our business course, the Humble Alpha Leadership course that's in Forbes Business School. That exact course, you take the first module for free. We have a free giveaways, all kinds of stuff that we've done. You go there and just download the heck out of it. There's information about our advisory program on there. There's just about everything we do is a video on there. You can watch everything. It's testimonials from people who've worked with us. Easy, humblealpha.com.
Okay, perfect. And as you know, our theme for this season is freedom fighters. So any last piece of advice for our listeners?
Freedom comes from within. Simple as that. We decide what freedom means for us, and then we roll with it. It's simple. It's no one has control over your freedom unless you let them. Mm-hmm. And even in prison, and I was in prison, so a very short time I was in prison. Even in prison, I was free. Right. It just depends on your inside. At that moment, what is my freedom? What did my freedom mean to me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So good, so powerful. And I think these are the exact things that people need to hear right now, and to take that ownership back of who they are and what that is for them, and to reclaim that. So I want to thank you, Stephen. It's always a pleasure to talk with you and to hear your wisdom. And it's just so fun. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, Diane. Thank you so much. My pleasure. So for all of our listeners out there, hey, this is today for you to take a moment to own your presence, to think about what freedom means to you and how you want to live your life going forward. Forget about all the noise and distractions and things that are happening outside of you. Take that second to check in with yourself and just decide who you want to be and where you want to go going forward. I know that somebody is going to want to hear this message today, so please, subscribe, share, get it out there. And if you have any questions, please put in the comments on whatever platform you're on. Tag both myself and Stephen. We're happy to answer any questions for you. And until we connect again, live your spa life and stand in your freedom. Bye for now. Bye-bye.